and sent him to you. You might never be healed. Will you not receive your healing? That's
enabling you to cry, Father, Father. You may worship him at
11th. Bruce Schenkel in left field, left center field. Taking the field now is Calvary United Methodist. They'll look like this defensively. Scott Burns in right field, Jim Pritzer in right center, Bob Bills in left center, Scott Sebring in left field, Steve Van Devender at third base, Tom Burns Jr. at short, Scott Larson at second, Tom Burns Sr. at first base, Tom Springborn behind the plate, and pitching for the Calvary United Methodist team, Marlon Nettleton. The Lukes, managed by Ron Cremines, come into tonight's ballgame with a record of 5-5, and Calvary United Methodist, managed by Steve Van Devender, 0 for the season at 0-10.
Looking for their first win tonight, and TV 10 softball team seems to television 10 telecable softball brings out the best in everybody. We've seen players play their greatest games when we show up for some reason, John.
We have that effect on
maybe people. We'll have that 0-10 record broken tonight.
So stepping in there for the Lukes of St. Luke's Presbyterian United Church of Christ is Craig Spratt. He'll be playing left field tonight for the Lukes, and he'll be facing pitcher Marlon Nettleton. Spratt hitting .607 so far this season. He's got a home run, believe it or not. He'll be followed by Eldon Brewer and John Smith.
They need to extend that name of their church just a little bit, so it takes another few seconds to get it out.
Spratt lines one into left field. Getting under it was Scott Sebring for out number 1, and that'll bring up Eldon Brewer.
We can tell that the Lukes are excited to see us here because I think, unfortunately, I hate to say this, but our broadcast last week of the Fabulous Foo Bars has started a trend. When we show up, people seem to want to do silly things now.
That's lined back to pitcher Marlon Nettleton for out number 2. As Dan was mentioning, the Lukes sporting the Hawaiian hats, every one of them.
A couple grass skirts over in the dugout, some Hawaiian shorts. It seems to be the trend now that when we show up, they want to be silly.
2 down here in the top of the first inning. John Doc Smith at the plate. He lines that one into right center field. Coming over to make the catch is Jim Pritzer for out number 3. A 1-2-3 inning for Marlon Nettleton, and there's no score at the end of a half inning.
Get a chance to talk about these church teams. Maybe once again remind our fans what it takes to formulate a church team. It's very simple. It's members of a given church get together, formulate teams, and enter in our leagues. And that's the type of thing that we really enjoyed when we first founded the church league about 6 or 7 years ago. Gives the churches a chance to socialize not only within their parish but with other churches in Bloomington Normal. And this league is very popular. Every year we're turning away 6, 7, 8 churches that want to get their team. We only have room for 16 teams, and most of the 16 that we currently have, I'd say 14 of them have been here since we started this well, it started the year before I came, so it's been about 9 years now since we started the church league. So it's really the basis of softball. You know, it's good recreation, good fellowship, and hopefully good play tonight.
I can see right off the bat that first baseman Keith Jenkins of St. Luke's will win the Crazy Shorts Award tonight.
Obviously, some of these guys from St. Luke's are followers. They're part of our fan club or something because they know what it takes to draw our attention. And Jenks going with the Hawaiian shorts right off the bat has obviously made him my favorite tonight.
Scott Sebring grounds the first pitch from Ron Cremines over to Jeff Scott at second base. He flips over to Keith Jenkins for out number 1. Sebring will be followed by Jim Pritzer, and Bob Brills. Batting fourth will be Marlon Nettleton. He'll be followed by Steve Van Devender. He'll be followed by Tom Burns and Tom Springborn. Batting eighth is Scott Larson. Ninth, Tom Burns. He'll be followed by Jeff Pilzer, and rounding out the lineup is Scott Burns, and this is Jeff Pritzer.
Swing and a miss there for the first strike. Talking about the rules that we use in this league, just like the rest of our recreation leagues, we have the 1-and-1 count. We use the mat with only one umpire. We have the force-out rule. All some things that if we get a chance, we'll explain to our fans a little more. Might be the first time you're watching telecable softball.
It's lined into center field. Coming over is Eldon Brewer, and he makes the catch for out number 2. That'll bring up Bob Bills. Mentioning the rule changes, Dan, I noticed for the first time this year that we have 2 bags at first base, one orange and one white.
That's the safety base that we've started using at normal in all of our softball leagues. That tries to direct runners. Runners get to use the orange half. The defense uses the white half. Really, technically, either can use either half the first time through, but after that, that's the halves that they have to use. And it hopefully cuts down on collisions at first base.
Bills loops one over the shortstop Todd Harrison's head for hit number 1 for Calvary United Methodist, and that will bring up pitcher Marlon Nettleton.
This game's moving fast so far, John. The pitchers are not taking very many strikes. We see that's another trend we see when we show up at the ballpark. Everybody wants to get their cuts in.
Nettleton at the plate. Big right-handed hitter, also pitches for this Calvary United Methodist team. I mentioned earlier they carry an 0-10 record into this ball game, looking to break out of it against St. Luke's.
I think the Hawaiian hats could do it. I've got the feeling, I've got the St. Luke's feeling, and with those Hawaiian hats, I got to get one of those after the game. Those guys are going to have to give me a souvenir one. I'm sure they got an extra one.
Nettleton will be on the walk by Ron Cremines. That'll bring up Steve Van Dievender, manager of this Calvary United Methodist team. Runners at first and second and 2 down here in the bottom of the first inning. That's lined up the middle. Nice play by the shortstop, Todd Harrison. He steps on the bag to force Marlon Nettleton. So no runs, 1 hit, 2 men left on for Calvary United Methodist. And at the end of 1, there's no score.
Hi, this is Kurt Zimmer. If you've had an accident, remember the experts at Kurt's Auto Body.
At Kurt's Auto Body, we have the finest equipment available to repair your car. We are always updating our methods and equipment to keep up with the changing cars of today. Our unibody frame machines straighten your car back to factory specifications. Our Pure Cure paint booth and Sickens urethane enamel produce the finest paint job available. Remember, when you need auto body repairs, see the experts at Kurt's Auto Body, 2025 Ireland Grove Road in Bloomington.
I got a dream that comes from the heart of the heartland. I can make my dream, cause I take my dream right from the heart of the heartland. Well, I won't rest, gonna reach for the best, got it all here in my hand. Wherever I go, I'm gonna let them know it's coming right from the heart of the heartland.
In the heartland, people know what it means to reach for a dream. That's where Old Style is brewed. Brewed with a dream. Not to be the biggest beer in America, just the best.
I got a dream, comes from the heart of the heartland, right from the heart of the heartland.
Reach for the best. Old Style beer.
Do I lack something?
That is an understatement. Without Cinemax in August to round out the summer of '88, you lack thrills from the West, Hollywood classics, winning stories, heartwarming tales. Over 120 choices this month alone.
Surprise?
For vampire nuts, The Lost Boys. For action addicts, No Way Out. For comedy lovers, Revenge of the Nerds 2. For slapstick fans, a Cinemax comedy experiment. Call and order Cinemax today. You know you can't resist.
I'm only human! Back out here at Maxwell Park, John Colson and Dan Hyland. Telecable continuing softball 88. We have a Church League doubleheader for you tonight. If you're just joining us, the Lukes of St. Luke's Presbyterian United Church of Christ versus Calvary United Methodist due up here in the top half of the second inning for the Lukes. Keith Jenkins, Bob Hinthorn, and Jeff Scott to face Marlon Nettleton. No score. First pitch to Keith Jenkins is a ball.
Good shot from our behind the plate camera once again. Marlon Nettleton delivering that pitch.
Who's our umpire tonight, Dan?
Behind the plate, Paul Hersey, and since he's the lone umpire, he'd be behind the bases too then. I forget where we're at sometimes.
Keith Jenkins takes a leadoff walk from Nettleton. That'll bring up Bob Hinthorn, the extra hitter.
Good shot of Keith at first base there, wearing tonight's first game
Crazy Shorts Award.
Crazy Shorts Award. Having trouble remembering what I'm doing today. It's been a long couple of days. I'll explain that later, but my mind's not functioning, John. Drag me through this now.
Fouled back by Hinthorn. 1-2 the count. Nobody out here in the top of the second inning. Jenkins on first base after the leadoff walk. Hinthorn up and Jeff Scott on deck. Pitch by Nettleton is swung on and grounded to third base. It gets through the legs of Steve Van Dievender and goes out into left field. That'll go as an error on Van Dievender, and Hinthorn will be on first base, and that'll bring up Jeff Scott. Down to second base goes Keith Jenkins. Jeff Scott coming into tonight's ball game batting .344.
Looking up and down the Luke's lineup here, I see there's a lot of hefty averages, a lot of averages over 400. I have a tough time understanding why they're 0-10 so far this season.
First pitch in there to Scott was a strike. Swings on that one, down to Van Deventer at third. He'll step on third for one and throw over to first for the double play. Nice play by Steve Van Deventer, the manager of this Calvary team. Grounded right to him. He stepped on third for the force on Jenkins. Threw over to first baseman for Tom Burns Sr. for the out on Jeff Scott to complete the double play. Hinthorn will move down to second base, and that'll bring up Tony Today, telecable employee sporting the cross-handed hitting style.
The question is, can Tony hit a lick? We've been betting. Oh, unbelievable.
Lines that one into the center field. Rounding third base is Bob Hinthorn. The throw to the plate. And Hinthorn will hold at second base. Tony Today, alertly noticing the throw home, takes second base. And what a debut for the cross-handed hitter.
Unbelievable. Finishing it off with a pop-up slide at second base. He's a player. He's a player. He's not pretty, but he's a player.
So 2 down here in the top of the second inning. Runners on second and third for the Lukes, and that brings up Todd Harrison. Harrison takes the first pitch as it bounces off the plate for a ball. Harrison, so far this season, batting .417.
And wearing my favorite hat. That's hat of the day if we were to get a shot of it. It's a nice light aqua. It would match our the official telecable broadcasting shirts we wore last Sunday also.
That's popped up by Harrison to Marlon Nettleton. So the Lukes come up empty here in the top of the second inning. No runs on 1 hit, 2 runners left on for the Lukes, and at the end of 1.5, there's no score. So Dan, let's talk about this cross-handed hitting style. Tony Today, I had mentioned in our last broadcast at the Hearts doubleheader Sunday that Tony was going to play today. He wanted us to make mention of that cross-handed hitting style. He's a telecable employee. He collects the first hit of the ball game for the Lukes.
That cross-handed hitting style is a fluke, and Tony has no business on the field. No, it's just kidding, Tony, when you watch this replay. But I couldn't believe it. Cross-handed hitting has to take someone special. I mean, I just cannot envision hitting the ball that way. You know, it would lock, my wrist would lock every time I swung. I mean, you know, I just don't know how they do it. It's amazing.
Tom Burns Jr. up there for Calvary. He'll be followed by Tom Springborn and Scott Larson. Burns leading off the bottom of the second inning. Lines that one into left center field. Chasing it is Bruce Schenkel. It's over his head. 1 hop to the fence. Into second base goes Burns. He rounds it. He's going to go for 3. The relay throw is not going to be in time. And Tom Burns Jr. will lead off the bottom of the second inning with a long triple.
Tom, a normal Parks and Rec employee who doesn't use the cross-handed batting style. We don't teach that at normal Parks and Rec. Tom, one of our maintenance men, works on our diamonds, works in our parks, exhibiting the ability to hit the long ball there off the fence here at Maxwell Park, 265 feet away.
1 hop to the fence over Bruce Schenkel's head, and this is Tom Springborn. He lines that one into left field. Coming in was left fielder Craig Spratt. Gets by him. Schenkel gets the ball into second base, but on the base hit by Tom Springborn, Tom Burns Jr. will score the first run of the ball game for Calvary United Methodist. So here in the second inning, it's 1-0. Due up here for Calvary United Methodist is Scott Larson. He's up there with nobody out and a runner on first base. 1 run in for Calvary off of Ron Cremines. That's swung on and lined to the shortstop. Making the catch was Todd Harrison for out number 1. That'll bring up Tom Burns Sr.
You mentioned Ron Cremines, the pitcher for St. Luke. He's former manager of that team. He's been pitching slow pitch since I've been here, even more years than that. Ron's using one of our former terms of the day. He's a crafty old veteran who wily old veteran also. That's another term of the day. But Ron is crafty and wily, a postal service employee who's been a friend of mine since he was a manager and I started running softball here in town. Great guy.
Tom Burns Sr. fouled the first pitch out of play. He swings on and lines that one into left field. That's going to go for a base hit. Down to second base goes Springborn. And due up for Calvary United Methodist with 1 out is Jeff Pilzer. 3 hits in the inning so far for Calvary United Methodist, a triple and 2 singles, which has led to a run. Pilzer, the extra hitter up there with a chance to do some more damage against Ron Cremines. 1-0 the score here in the bottom of the second inning. That pitch is a little deep for ball 1. Swung on by Pilzer. Going back is the shortstop, Todd Harrison, to make the catch for out number 2. So with 2 outs, Scott Burns will come to the plate with runners at first and second base. If you're just joining us, first game of a Church League doubleheader out here at Maxwell Park. John Colson and Dan Highland, telecable continuing softball 88. 1-0 Calvary over St. Luke's here in the bottom of the second inning as that's popped into short left field. Coming in to make the play, Craig Spratt for out number 3 in the inning. 1 run on 3 hits, 2 runners left on for Calvary United Methodist. And at the end of 2, the score, 1-0 Calvary.
It's new from Bank Midwest. It's the Prime Certificate of Deposit. This 18-month certificate has a variable interest rate that changes with the market, keeps you up to date. The Prime Certificate also has a guaranteed minimum rate. You'll never earn less. And after 6 months, you can make an early withdrawal without penalty. Sounds great, doesn't it? See one of our personal bankers today and purchase your Prime Certificate at any of the 5 Bank Midwest locations. Phone 829-1000 for current interest rates. Accounts insured by FDIC.
Where can you find everything to be in style for anything this summer? At Cardans, located in the College Hills Mall. Now, just in time for warm weather, swimsuits, dresses, sleepwear, and summer separates in the latest styles and easy-to-care fabrics. Cardans offers a wide selection of name brands, expert service, and competitive prices. So be ready for summer. Shop Cardans early while selection is best. Cardans, located in the College Hills Mall, Normal.
CBM Computer Center, your technology breakthrough.
Does August make you crazy with the heat? Then think cool. HBO Cinemax Combo Cool. The best movies on HBO. The best hunks. The best laughs. The best original drama. Now add Cinemax for more movies, more nerds, more madness, more choice than you ever dreamed of. Over 250 movies and shows with the combo. So take it easy in a great big way. Call today for a cool cable combo. HBO and Cinemax.
It's the only other thing worth living for.
Here at Maxwell Park, John Colson and Dan Highland. What's turned out to be a beautiful evening. We had rain showers out here earlier. There was some question as to whether we'd get this doubleheader in. No doubt about it now as the sun peeks through the clouds. The lights are on. Due up here for the Lukes in the top of the third inning, John Berner, Ron Cremines, and Bruce Schenkel as Berner grounds that one to short, making the play. Tom Burns Jr. over to first baseman Tom Burns Sr. for out number 1.
Tom to Tom. Or Burns to Burns.
Father to son.
Father
However
to
you want to look
you
at it.
Cover
Son to
just
father.
About any way you want. Yeah, son to father. You can cover just about any way you want. That pretty much wraps it up.
Ron Cremine steps up to the plate, the manager of this Luke's team, and he lines it down the line for possibly an extra base hit, but he'll hold at 1. Getting over to cut it off was Scott Sebring. So Cremine's held to a base hit with 1 out, and that'll bring up Bruce Schenkel. Schenkel hitting .400 so far this season. Left-handed left center fielder for the Luke squad. Up there with a runner on first base and 1 out. Luke's down by a run here in the top of the third inning. First pitch to Schenkel in there for a strike. Pitch by Nettleton is swung on and grounded right back to Nettleton. He'll go to second base for 1. Tom Burns Jr. back to first base to complete the double play. Play goes 1-6-3 for the double play. So a quick inning for Marlon Nettleton of Calvary United Methodist. No runs and 1 hit. Nobody left on for the Luke. So at the end of 2.5, it's still 1-0 Calvary.
Tell you what, John, the play we've seen here so far tonight defensively has been as good as we've seen almost all year long. Not a single error has been made. Fine play by both teams. This league being the B League, supposedly the weaker 8 teams of the total 16 Church League teams that we have. It's kind of surprising. I'm very interested in this game. This game is a good game right now.
Due up for Calvary United Methodist here in the bottom of the third, the top of the order, and Scott Sebring. He'll be followed by Jim Pitzer and Bob Bills. First pitch from Cremines is drilled into left field. Making the catch is Craig Spratt for St. Luke's for out number 1. And that'll bring up Jim Pitzer. Pitzer flew out to center fielder Bruce Schenkel last time up. Bob Bills on deck. 1 out here in the bottom of the third inning. If you're just joining us, it's a 1-0 Calvary lead. They scored that run in the bottom half of the second inning, a leadoff triple by Tom Burns Sr. He was driven in by Tom Springborn for the lone run of this ball game to this point. Bottom of the third inning. Pitzer 0 for 1. Takes that one in there for a strike. Pitch by Cremines is swung on and lined into center field. That'll go for a base hit. Bruce Schenkel gets to the ball and gets it into the infield. So a 1-out base hit for Jim Pitzer, and that'll bring up Bob Bills. Bills singled his last time up, 1 for 1. Pitzer on first base with 1 out. And that's swung on into short right center field. Coming in to make the play on the bounce is Eldon Brewer. He gets the ball into the shortstop Todd Harrison, but that'll go as a base hit. Pitzer will move down to second base, so back-to-back hits by Pitzer and Bills, and that'll bring up cleanup hitter Marlon Nettleton.
And a good chance for Calvary United Methodist. There's a Calvary Baptist too, so it doesn't get any easier to score here if they can string singles together like Nettleton's.
Nettleton swings on and gets a base hit into right center field. The bases are going to be loaded for Steve Van Devender. Back-to-back base hits for Pitzer, Bills, and Nettleton. And they have the bases loaded with only 1 out. Steve Van Devender grounded out to shortstop Todd Harrison last time up. Up there to do some damage against Ron Cremines.
Looks like he wants to take the ball to right field. Maybe they've detected a weakness, and the fact that the Lukes are playing just a little bit too deep. They seem to be pitching the ball over the shortstop's head easily for singles now.
Van Devender looking to get a hold of one here with the bases loaded. He lines that one up the middle for a base hit. 1 run's going to score. Another runner around third base. Pulling into second base is Marlon Nettleton, but on the base hit by Steve Van Devender, Pitzer scores from third, and Bob Bills comes all the way around from second. So 4 straight base hits for Calvary United Methodist has produced 2 runs, and that'll bring up Tom Burns Jr. And as we've said all year long, Dan, whoever strings the most singles together is going to score the runs and probably win the ball game.
That's exactly right, John. You covered it well. That's the name of the game in recreational slow pitch.
That ball was popped into right center field to Bruce Schenkel by Tom Burns Jr. for out number 2. The runners hold. That'll bring up catcher Tom Springborn. Springborn singled his only time up so far. He's 1 for 1.
Tom Burns Jr. tasted success a little too much. Tasted a little too much success last time up, and tried to hit the ball long again and just flew out to left center this time. Didn't get it all.
Springborn swings on this one and lines it into left field. Making the catch is Craig Spratt for out number 3, but in the inning, 2 runs on 4 straight hits. Pitzer, Bills, Nettleton, and Van Devender. They tally 2 runs and add to their 3-0 lead. So 2 runs on 4 hits, 2 runners left on for Calvary, and at the end of 3, they lead at 3-0.
How does Hal do it? Hal, how can you afford a new van, send the kids to college, and still eat steak?
It's easy.
Steak?
It's easy. I didn't buy the van. I leased it from First American Leasing.
But isn't that more expensive?
No. Monthly payments are lower than financing, and there's no down payment. First American Leasing did everything.
Why didn't we think of that?
I've got better things to do with my time and money.
See what First American Leasing can do for you at the corner of Grove and Robinson.
Jonathan, can you wrap a TV ad for Daddy real quick?
Let's see. When you need help buying or selling a house, you want it from someone like your dad, someone who knows a lot, someone you can trust, and someone who is always there.
When you're buying or selling a home, make that someone Realty Plus. You'll find they're like a member of the family.
Realty Plus.
At Modern Martial Arts, the only thing you need is the desire to learn. Learn the beauty. Learn the power. Learn to win. Experience the confidence that comes from martial arts, professionally taught by 3-time national silver medalist Randy Micheletti and his qualified staff. Call 454-4333 for program information and 2 free lessons. Programs available for children, beginners, and competitors. Call Modern Martial Arts and learn to win.
Suppose you could find total entertainment happiness in one cable network. Suppose there was drama with the biggest stars and the best music. Suppose there was horror underwater and with a comic touch. Suppose you could add blockbuster action, plus originals like HBO Pictures, live in-concert comedy, and contemporary drama. Suppose that cable network was called HBO and you had it. I'd want to be your best friend. Order HBO in August.
You're looking at the infield of Maxwell Park. It's turned out to be a very pleasant evening. It was pretty warm this afternoon, but as the rains came earlier this afternoon, the temperature went with it. So due up for the Lukes, the top of the order in Craig Spratt, Eldon Brewer, and John Smith, looking to get something going against Marlin Nettleton. They're down 3-0 entering the top of the 4th inning.
Here we go.
Fouled straight back to us. Luckily, Dan was there to block me from that vicious line drive off the bat of Craig Spratt.
Thought we had a chance at one. If we'd have had the 8-foot extension on the net, I think we could have got it. Because it was a little high above us. Oh, this is
swung on by Spratt off the glove of Tom Burns Sr. That'll go for a base hit, and that'll bring up Eldon Brewer.
What does Spratt have against us? He seems to be trying to hit the ball this way.
Craig Spratt was batting .607 going into that at bat. Eldon Brewer due up here. Brewer batting .278, bats second in this Luke's batting order. Up there with a runner on first base and nobody out. Takes that one in there for a strike.
We need to get into negotiation with the St. Luke's team for 2 of those hats. We have to have 2 that match so we can wear them at broadcast time.
Popped up by Brewer, second baseman Scott Larson getting under it for the play. Out number 1. That'll bring up John Doc Smith. I had the pleasure of playing with John Smith last year on a fast pitch team. I know he's a fine hitter, all-around good guy, and he personally sports the hat that I want.
I happen to know John too, and I disagree. He's a terrible hitter, and he is really not a very nice guy at all. So fans, believe who you want to.
That's popped up into left field for out number 2. That'll bring up Keith Jenkins.
No, Keith Jenkins and John Smith both played with me on a Corn Valley Baseball League team when I first came here to town in 1982. We were probably the worst team in the Corn Valley at that time. I believe they still might be on that team that is the worst team. But we had a good time. That's all that's important.
I also had the pleasure of playing with Keith. We all 3 of us played on the fast pitch team last fall out at Fairview Park. Jenkins up here with 2 down and a runner on first base. He lines that one into left center field. It's going to drop in there for a base hit. Rounding second base is Craig Spratt. He'll go into third. So a double for Keith Jenkins with 2 outs has put runners at second and third and 2 outs, and Bob Hinthorn at the plate.
Well, here's the chance that the Lukes have been looking for.
4th hit of the ball game for the Lukes, the first extra base hit. Jenkins has now 1 for 1 with a walk. Hinthorn reached on the error by Todd Harrison the last time up, by Tom Burns Jr., excuse me, and he singles to left field. That will score Craig Spratt for the first run of the ball game for the Lukes. Over to third base goes Keith Jenkins. So back-to-back hits here for the Lukes has produced a run, and that'll bring up Jeff Scott. Lukes down 3-1 here in the top of the 4th inning. Scott grounded into a double play his last time up. Up there with a chance to do some damage against Marlin Nettleton. Lines that one through the box for a base hit. 1 run's going to score. Down to second base goes Bob Hinthorn. Jenkins scores in the RBI base hit by Jeff Scott. And that brings up our favorite hitter, Tony Today. 4 hits in the inning for the Lukes. Excuse me, Dan.
The question is, can Tony produce with the pressure on?
Up there with a tying run at second base. Takes that one in there for a strike. Today singled his first time up. He collected the first hit for the Lukes. We mentioned his cross-handed hitting style, which still to this day amazes me, as that's grounded to Tom Burns Jr. He flips over to second base for this force on Jeff Scott. But in the inning, 2 runs for the Lukes on 4 hits. 1 man left on for the Lukes, and at the end of 3 1/2, they've pulled within a run, 3-2.
You know, John, it feels really good to come out here tonight and do telecable. I want to take a minute to say something to the people who are watching, and some people who probably know this, some people who don't, but it's been a tough 3 days for me and a lot of the umpires and a lot of the ASA staff, people at Normal Parks and Rec, because we lost a pretty good friend this past weekend when my umpiring partner, my baseball umpiring partner, and probably one of the best friends I have in the world, Rory Hodgson, passed away. And for those of you who are watching, a lot of people called the office, a lot of people have called my house, a lot of people have called the Hodgson family, and it's been a tough weekend. And for those of you who expressed grief to the Hodgson family, I want to take some time right now to tell you some things that they told us this afternoon at the funeral, that they're very touched by everything that's happened with the passing of Rory, the number of people who came out and said things and sent flowers and cards and gifts, and it was a touching memorial to a good friend and a great guy, a guy who cared a lot about softball and cared a lot about umpiring, which is something that's very close to my heart, and needless to say, he's a good friend of mine. So I just wanted to tell people who I know watch this broadcast and who get a chance to go out and came out to the funeral home. The line was all the way around Brady's funeral home last night, and one of the most touching things I've ever seen. It was like a Sports Hall of Fame who's who out there, and it was unbelievable. And I know from the Hodgson family and the friends of Rory Hodgson that we want to take time to thank you for everyone for coming out and paying tribute to a great guy.
Certainly our condolences to the Hodgson family. A great loss for the entire Twin Cities. Due up here for Calvary United Methodist, there's been a replacement. Lynn Cheesema has come in to play second base for Scott Larson. He'll lead it off here in the bottom of the 4th inning. He'll be followed by Tom Burns, Sr., and Jeff Pilzer. Cheesema will come in for Scott Larson. Calvary, excuse me, Dan.
Excuse me, John. Lynn, another manager who's managed squads in my league. Not only does he manage this, or did at one time, manage his Calvary team, but he also managed a team called the Professionals on Friday nights. Another softball maniac.
That was popped down the line, foul by Cheesema. He'll step back in there to face Ron Cremines. Close ball game, 3-2. Luke scoring 2 runs in the top half of this inning. That's swung on by Cheesema, line to second baseman, excuse me, to Todd Harrison at short for out number 1, and that'll bring up Tom Burns, Sr.
See Tom approaching the plate right now. Tom, a counselor at Chittix Junior High and baseball and basketball coach there, showing a good swing right there.
Lines went into left field, making the catch. Craig Spratt for out number 2. Quick inning so far for Calvary United Methodist and Ron Cremines, and that'll bring up Tom Burns, Sr. Actually, I'm reading the wrong lineup, Dan. No, I'm not.
No, you're not. You're doing okay. Don't
get nervous.
Don't get nervous. You're doing a good job.
This is Jeff Pilzer. He popped up to shortstop Todd Harrison the last time up. 2 outs here in the bottom of the 4th inning. That's looped into center field. Coming in to make the catch is Eldon Brewer. He was playing a very short right center field. So Pilzer pops up for the 3rd out of the inning. No runs, no hits, no errors, nobody left on for Calvary United Methodist. And at the end of 4, Calvary 3, St. Luke's 2.
The first name in copiers probably isn't the copier name you think of first, but it's a name that links speed and performance with uncompromising reliability and makes innovative technology simple to use. For meeting the needs of every size business relies on the most popular copiers in America. From personal to high-performance copiers, the choice is Canon.
In Central Illinois, your authorized Canon dealer is Paxton's.
Hi, this is Kurt Zimmer. If you've had an accident, remember the experts at Kurt's Auto Body.
At Kurt's Auto Body, we have the finest equipment available to repair your car. We are always updating our methods and equipment to keep up with the changing cars of today. Our unibody frame machines straighten your car back to factory specifications. Our Pure Cure paint booth and Sickens urethane enamel produce the finest paint job available. Remember, when you need auto body repairs, see the experts at Kurt's Auto Body, 2025 Ireland Grove Road in Bloomington.
Where can you find everything to be in style for anything this summer? At Cardan's, located in the College Hills Mall. Now, just in time for warm weather, swimsuits, dresses, sleepwear, and summer separates in the latest styles and easy-to-care fabrics. Cardan's offers a wide selection of name brands, expert service, and competitive prices. So be ready for summer. Shop Cardan's early while selection is best. Cardan's, located in the College Hills Mall, Normal.
Do I lack something? That is an understatement. Without Cinemax in August to round out the summer of '88, you lack thrills from the West, Hollywood classics, winning stories, heartwarming tales. Over 120 choices this month alone.
Surprise?
For vampire nuts, The Lost Boys. For action addicts, No Way Out. For comedy lovers, Revenge of the Nerds 2. For slapstick fans, a Cinemax comedy experiment. Call and order Cinemax today. You know you can't resist.
I'm only human!
Back out here at Maxwell Park, Telecable continuing softball 88. Due up here for the Lukes in the top half of the fifth inning, Todd Harrison, John Berner, and pitcher Ron Cremines. They're looking to score a run here as that's grounded to Tom Burns Jr. He flips over to Tom Burns Sr. and it goes off of his glove. Tom Burns Sr. trying to keep his foot on the bag on the high throw by his son Tom. Couldn't do that as the ball bounded off his glove and went out of play. So Todd Harrison will go down to second base on the error, and that'll bring up John Berner. Error on shortstop Tom Burns Jr. to lead off the top of the fifth inning. Good start for the Lukes. John Berner at the plate, 0 for 1. John Berner batting .323 so far this season, chokes up on the bat and grounds one into left field for a base hit. Moving down to third is Todd Harrison, so good start here for the Lukes in the top half of the fifth. They have runners on first and third with nobody out, and pitcher Ron Cremines looking to help himself out here, has a chance to drive in the tying run with nobody out. Bruce Schenkel on deck, and then the top of the order. That's swung on and lined down the line. Picked up nicely by the third baseman, scooped out of the dirt by Tom Burns Jr. for the out on Ron Cremines. He lined it down the third base line. Steve Van Deventer got a glove on it, came up throwing, threw it in the dirt, but a nice scoop by Tom Burns Sr. for the out. The runners, so now we have runners at second and third and one out, and Bruce Schenkel at the plate. Nice play by Van Deventer that time, saving the run. Schenkel 0 for 1 so far this evening. Lines that one into right field for a fair ball. One run's going to score. The other runner is rounding third. He's caught in between, and he'll go back to third on the throw in from the outfield. On the throw, Bruce Schenkel will move down to second base, so Bruce Schenkel ties up the ball game as Todd Harrison scores from third base. The Lukes will have runners at second and third and only one out in the top of the order, and Craig Spratt due up.
We knew that if the Lukes, John, were patient, that they'd be able to chip back away at this lineup, or at this Calvary team, and tie it up, and they did. Another single or two here, and they'll take the lead.
Popped into right field, coming over to make the catch, Scott Burns. He throws it into home plate. It gets by the catcher. Nice play by Scott Burns out in right field, holding John Berner on third base. So with two down, that'll bring up Eldon Brewer.
Scotty made an excellent throw. You need to get down just a little bit so that it could have been cut, but still an excellent throw to the plate.
John Berner at third, Bruce Schenkel at second base. 2 hits in the inning and an error for St. Luke's. Eldon Brewer 0 for 2 so far this evening. Brewer, a .278 hitter, lined to the pitcher his first time up and popped out to second baseman Scott Larson back in the fourth inning. Up here with a chance to do some damage with 2 outs, and he takes the walk. That'll bring up John Doc Smith.
Well, I think he had a better shot in pitching to Brewer than he did to Smith, that's for sure. Smith is an excellent hitter, as we said earlier, and it's a tough spot right here for Calvary Methodist.
First pitch in there to Smith is a ball. Smith up here with the bases loaded and 2 outs. Tie ball game, 3-3.
Well, now he hasn't. Netherlands having a tough time finding the plate, seemingly all of a sudden.
So back-to-back walks to Brewer and Smith, forces in a run. St. Luke's takes their first lead of the ball game, 4-3. Down to third goes Schenkel. Eldon Brewer will move up to second. Smith will be on first base after the walk, and that'll bring up first baseman Keith Jenkins with the bases loaded and 2 outs. First pitch in there to Keith Jenkins from Marlon Nettleton is a ball. having a little control trouble here in the top of the 5th inning.
This wasn't the time to have it, that's for sure, especially with runners in 2nd and 3rd. And the Lukes seem to be content in taking pitches till they get 2 strikes on them.
That pitch in there for a strike, a full count on Keith Jenkins. He doubled and scored his last time up, 1 for 1. Swung on in line to the 3rd baseman. Van Deventer can't get the glove on it. It goes through his legs for an error. Everybody will move up a base. Bruce Schenkel will score the 5th run of the ball game for the Lukes. Moving down to 3rd, Eldon Brewer and Jock Smith will move up to 2nd base. Big play for the Lukes, the error on Van Deventer. Bases will still be loaded, and Bob Hinthorn, the extra hitter at the plate. That's lined into the left field. Coming in is Scott Sebring. 1 run's going to score. Here's another around 3rd. John Doc Smith trying to score on the base hit by Bob Hinthorn is forced at home plate. As we've mentioned before, all the catcher needed to do, catcher Tom Springborn, was just keep his foot on the plate. No tag necessary, and John Doc Smith is out for the 3rd out. But a run scores on the base hit by Bob Hinthorn to make it 6-3. 4 runs on 3 hits, 2 walks, and an error for the Lukes. And at the end of 4.5, they've taken the lead 6-3.
Well, an exciting ball game here, John, in our men's church B League tonight. We've had an exciting weekend of softball. We played our Class A and Class B regionals. We've got teams that are advancing to state tournaments in Rock Island and Kankakee. And as the night goes on, we'll take a look at those teams, who advanced, who didn't. It was an interesting weekend of softball all around. A long weekend, unfortunately. We played, let's see, I've forgotten now. There were so many, approximately 75 games, and a slow pitch softball. And when you see that many in a weekend, it gets hard to talk about them on Tuesday night.
Scott Burns at the plate drives that one into left field. Craig Spratt making the catch for out number 1 here in the bottom of the 5th inning. 6-3, St. Luke's over Calvary United Methodist. Top of the order due up in Scott Sebring and Jim Pitzer.
It's important now that Calvary come back, notch a couple runs of their own here to stay in this game.
That's lined into left field for a base hit. Good piece of hitting by Scott Sebring. He collects his first hit of the evening. He's now 1 for 3, and that'll bring up Jim Pitzer, the right center fielder. 9th hit of the ball game for Calvary United Methodist. They're down by 3. The base hit by Sebring, Jim Pitzer. Up there, he singled his last time up. He's 1 for 2. He singled and scored back in the 3rd inning. Sebring on first base with 1 out. That's in there for a strike. Pitzer to be followed by Bob Bills. That's swung on and driven to right center field. Coming over to make the catch, Eldon Brewer. He gets the throw in to the infield to hold Scott Sebring at first base. So there's 2 outs, and Bob Bills will step to the plate for Calvary United Methodist. Bills 2 for 2 this evening, 2 singles. He singled and scored back in the 3rd. Calvary scoring their first run in the 2nd. They added 2 more in the 3rd, and that's popped straight up. Ron Cremines comes in to make the catch for out number 3. In the inning, no runs, 1 hit, 1 man left on for Calvary United Methodist. And at the end of 5, they're down 6-3 to St. Luke's.
Logan Pass, Montana and Old Milwaukee both mean something great to these guys. Logan Pass means trailblazing, exploring the wilderness of Glacier National Park. And Old Milwaukee means a great beer. Cold, crisp Old Milwaukee beer and smooth, golden Old Milwaukee Light.
There's nothing like the flavor of a special place, an Old Milwaukee beer.
Old Milwaukee and Old Milwaukee Light.
Guys, it just doesn't get any better than this.
AIDS is a disease which can happen to anyone. The McLean County Health Department wants you to know that AIDS is a local public health concern, which affects men, women, and children in McLean County. Everyone must work to thoroughly understand this epidemic. Everyone must protect themselves as well. AIDS is preventable. For facts, counseling, and testing, or services for persons with AIDS, call McLean County Health Department at 888-5435. That's 888-5435.
Does August make you crazy with the heat? Then think cool. HBO Cinemax Combo Cool. The best movies on HBO. The best hunks. The best laughs. The best original drama. Now add Cinemax for more movies, more nerds, more madness, more choice than you ever dreamed of. Over 250 movies and shows with the combo. So take it easy in a great big way. Call today for a cool cable combo. HBO and Cinemax.
It's the only other thing worth living for.
Back out here at Maxwell Park, we're going to go into the top of the 6th inning. The Lukes of St. Luke's Presbyterian United Church of Christ holding a 6-3 lead over Calvary United Methodist. Due up for the Lukes here in the top of the 6th inning, Jeff Scott, Tony Today, and Todd Harrison. The Lukes scored 2 runs back in the 4th inning, added 4 more back in the last inning in the top of the 5th on 3 hits, a couple of walks, and an error. So they lead at 6-3 going into the top of the 6th as Jeff Scott will step in there to face Marlon Nettleton. Luke's looking to up their record to 6-5. Calvary United Methodist hoping not to fall to 0-11. Jeff Scott, 1 for 2 so far this evening, came into tonight's ball game batting .344. Scott playing second base tonight for the Lukes. Swung on and driven to left field. Coming over is Scott Sebring. He gets under that one for the out. And that brings up the cross-handed hitter himself, Tony Today.
Tony, been a tremendous hitter today so far. Today's been a great hitter today. And maybe today will be a good hitter tomorrow and the next day and the next day. But let's see what he does here.
Swings on the first pitch and grounds to the shortstop, Tom Burns Jr. High throw over to Tom Burns Sr. for the out on Tony Today. Tony 1 for 3 so far this evening, and that'll bring up Todd Harrison.
Disappointing part, we've seen, we really haven't got a chance to look at a couple of facets of today's game, and that being his speed and his fielding ability, as they've buried him in right field where we can't really get a good look at him, and secondly, he hasn't hit anything for extra bases, so we don't know if he can run or not.
I'm sure he's definitely a speed demon. We all know that.
He looks aerodynamically sound.
Todd Harrison pops that one up. Coming in left field is Scott Sebring to collect the 3rd out of the inning. A 1-2-3 inning for Marlon Nettleton. No runs, no hits, no errors, nobody left on for the Lukes. So at the end of 5 1/2, they still hold a 3-run lead, 6-3 over Calvary United Methodist.
We haven't used our term of the day. I don't know. Could Speed Demon be it?
Speed Demon could be it. We haven't used it yet this season.
Term of the day. You've just coined it. So we will try to point out some of the speed demons in the game. We've already decided it would be today. Keith Jenkins, I think, is definitely out first for Speed Demon. A number of other players.
He's already got the Crazy Shorts Award.
Yeah, he got the Crazy Shorts Award, so he cannot come back with a Speed Demon. But you and I, of course, will also be ruled out as Speed Demons. You know, what can we say? It's just a term.
Then, of course, as we say,
there we are.
Get a shot of us. Oh, my.
Yeah, you can tell, fans, we definitely are not Speed Demons.
We sit down behind this table for a reason.
Yes.
Otherwise, we'd be out there. Nettleton, Van Devender, and Tom Burns Jr. due up for Calvary United Methodist here in the bottom of the 6th inning. They're looking to jump back in this ball game. They held a 3-0 lead for a couple of innings. Now they find themselves down 6-3.
Looks like we've got some lineup changes being made, so it might take a while. While we've got this break, we might want to remind our fans that if you're watching this broadcast on Thursday night, began at 7:30. We'll be on again tomorrow night, Friday night at 7:30 here on Telecable Channel 10. And if you're watching on Friday night, well, once again, you've missed another week of John and I coming into your homes and gracing your TV screens. And really, I'm sure you're the weaker or sadder for the fact. But you can catch us next week when
you're a better person for us, you know, when we are in your living room.
Next week when we're on Tuesdays through Fridays every night from 7:30 until approximately 10 o'clock with Telecable Softball 88. And I'm going to do something known in TV as filling while Big John gets some information, some lineup changes. Talking about next week's lineup, good. Now we're going to this is John getting the lineup changes. Now watch, fans, this will be me doing fill. See how I go into the massive files right here, and I pull out a piece of paper. Now I'll flip that paper over and read from it, and that is a broadcasting term known as fill, not to give away all of our secrets. Next week we'll be covering, next week we've got, I believe, an exciting week of softball. Yes, we do, looking at this list right here. Next week we'll be covering the Chinese Taipei team coming into Bloomington next Wednesday night. We'll be out at O'Neill Park and getting a chance to see both of our local teams in a small schedule change that I'm just now throwing at John, and John doesn't know about it in the first place. There is no Chinese Taipei game against Beer Nuts next Tuesday night, so next Wednesday night we'll get a special when we get to see both Beer Nuts and the Hearts in one night play the Chinese Taipei team. Hearts, I believe, will play first, Beer Nuts second. We'll get a chance to see both teams in action against the Chinese Taipei team. Hopefully we can get CJ Stolfa back up in the booth. Hopefully we can get Bill Kennedy in the booth to talk about the Beer Nuts, CJ to talk about the Hearts a little more. I'm really excited about next week, and that only gives us one broadcast night next week, so we're probably going to have to do a little bit of negotiation about picking up another broadcast next week. But once again, we want to remind you that next week, next Tuesday through Friday night, we'll be here with Telecable Softball 88.
Are you done? Now, after all that work, Dan, there were no substitutions. There was a mistake made.
That was perfectly good fill that
was a perfectly good fill for no reason.
We don't have that. You know, the files are starting to dwindle. The massive amounts of information that we have to use on these broadcasts, we can't just be wasting them on a trivial.
Dan had been home all afternoon preparing a fill just for this evening. He got to it for no reason. But as you had mentioned during Sunday's broadcast, Dan, you had mentioned the possibility of the Hearts and the Beer Nuts playing Chinese Taipei on one night. I think that's a great idea, and it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, unfortunately, Taipei is not, their flight into O'Hare is not till 8:30 on Tuesday night, so they will not be able to play Beer Nuts Tuesday night, so they've combined it down to one night, and that'll be a really great chance for us, our fans who don't get to see either team, to really sit down and look at both teams in one night, one broadcast.
Marlon Nettleton led off the inning with a walk. This was Steve Van Dievender. He lines it into center field for a base hit. So Nettleton, after the walk, goes down to second base. Van Dievender singles. Runners at first and second to lead off the bottom of the sixth inning. That brings to the plate Tom Burns Jr., who is 1 for 2. He tripled over the head of Bruce Schenkel in the second inning. Flew out to left center field his last time up there with a chance to get Calvary United Methodist back in this ball game in the bottom of the sixth inning. Swings and lines that one into left center field. Coming over to make a nice catch is Craig Spratt. He gets the ball back into the infield, backed up by Keith Jenkins. I should know him. I played with him for an entire year.
The memory goes with good old John.
That's right. That's tempting.
That's too tough to pass up.
Our director tonight, Al Shepston. Camera crew of Brian Rigg and Chris Kennedy. Pitch by Ron Cremines. Drilled into center field, getting through. Actually, Tom Springborn threw Ron Cremines' legs into center field for a base hit. Springborn did something to himself as he limped down to first base. Going to third is Nettleton, and Van Dievender to second. Bases will be loaded for Lynn Cheeseman.
I believe Springborn has been injured. He could have possibly earlier been the cause of all your discussion. I'm not sure, but he's barely able to stand any longer, and being the only player, they need to keep him in the game because otherwise it would be a forfeit. They've got an extra player here they're going to put into the game right now to pinch run for him.
Springborn, after the single